This is the $100,000 Roush RT6 F-150, and today I'm going to tell you everything about it. And I want to know down in the comments below, do you think it's worth that price tag? Now, I will say that we're actually offering this truck for sale at invoice pricing, so if you want to check that out, that'll be linked down below if you want to take a look at the truck. But it's a fun fact for you that this is the very first Roush F-150 that they've ever built that includes the brand new 6-inch lift kit. And let me show you everything about this truck. Starting with the badging. Take a look at this, the RT6. Basically, this stands for Roush Truck with a 6-inch lift kit. But up here, you'll see we have a couple of hood vents that actually allow for air to escape out of the engine bay because it's creating a lot of heat, and I just think it looks a whole lot better. And it's even more better if you're going to be adding a Roush supercharger to the truck as well. You can also see you've got your graphics up here, but this is the most important thing on the entire front end of the new Roush RT6 is going to be their grille. This is their grille that is from the ground up completely different than a Ford OEM grille. Now, this truck started life is an XLT. Now, the good news is you can get the RT6 in an STX trim level, you can get it in an XLT, you can also get it in a Lariat. And speaking of Lariat, this is the second time we've had to make this video. Why did I have to make this video more than once? Well, the main reason is because we filmed the entire previous video, but before we could actually get B-roll, you know, those glamour shots of the truck, we actually sold the truck before we could get those shots. So what I'm saying is that yes, this one has an MSRP of almost $100,000, but the Lariat trim level sold even faster. So now we are here making this video on this particular truck. But back to the grill itself, this grill is so cool. This is one of my favorite grills on the market. Why is that? Because you've got a couple of things that are integrated. And the first up, you have a black LED light bar right here that actually has the amber lights built into them. So that way the truck is legal in all 50 states because it's wider than they should be from the factory. So this is actually a compliance exercise, if you will. But the cool part is that when you turn those lights off, you'll notice that that light disappears completely into the black bar that is behind it. How cool is that? So now you can't even, well, it's still on. There we go. I finally got the light to come off. But basically, when you turn those lights off, it integrates well into this, what looks like just a black shiny piece of plastic. But the entire grille is going to be completely different from the ground up, as well as the massive Roush that's going across the front end of the grille. And the cool part is, it's also illuminated with a really nice high-end LED system. Now, down here, you do have a dedicated Roush lower front valence, and you'll see that this looks completely different from the factory. And you'll also notice this bar right here. When you remove these plates, you actually have an off-road LED light bar behind there on certain trim levels, depending on how the vehicle is equipped. And you also see you've got your nice red tow hooks built into the front. Once again, just trying to show that this thing's a little bit more sporty. But now I've got to ask, why does the RT6 exist? Well, the previous Roush F-150s just simply had a high-end coilover leveling kit system. And so basically just leveled the truck up a little bit, they replaced the shocks in the rear, and yes, it was a coilover system, but it wasn't a full-blown lift kit. One of the things that I've learned with Roush Performance, because we've been a dealer for theirs since 2001, I want to say, long time, is they have a habit of over-engineering everything. And in this situation, I actually think that it works out pretty well. So why did they come out with this truck? Well, they felt like the rest of the market is looking for a premium, high-end, big lift kit. This is the first time they've ever spent the money to actually go through and re-engineer a lift kit from the ground up. So this is a completely different lift kit than anything you'll find on the market. And so you've got your entire cross member that is completely replaced. Now that drops that front differential down to make sure that your front axles have got the right drive line, and so that way you don't have those things maxed out, and it's going to cause for a much better ride. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice looking on the back side of this lift kit is you've actually got a support brace back here to help support that front differential as well. Now, I'm not sure if this has something to do with it, or maybe it's those high-performance coilovers, because this is not just some spacer lift kit. This is actually a coilover strut replacement. And so I will go out here on a limb and say this. This is the best riding F-150 I've ever driven with a 6-inch lift kit. And I'm probably one of those guys that has driven more than just about anybody. I've probably driven hundreds, if not thousands, of these trucks. Every single manufacturer lift kit and I think that the Roush is probably the best ride quality. Now, there are some serious drawbacks that I'm going to cover on the driving portion of this video, so don't go anywhere. But I will say the ride quality is absolutely insane. Now, ride quality also might be factored in by the tires themselves. These are the General Grabber ATX tires. They're 35 inches tall, 12.5 inches wide, and they are on a 20-inch Roush dedicated wheel, which I think looks great. Now, I think that they've done a great job of kind of tying everything in together, and a part of that is going to be the fender flares. Because this is a white truck, you've got color matched fender flares with the amber lights on the side, once again, to make sure that this thing is DOT approved in all 50 states. And so it's not just a graphics package. They're actually doing a full-blown lift kit on the truck, and it's absolutely incredible. Moving on down the side, you've got a couple of different graphics packages and a couple of different packages, but what we have to show you is what we have to show you because we sold the other truck. But you have the Roush dedicated here on the bottom of the truck. It looks really, really cool on a white truck because the contrast, the white with the black graphics, but I love this as well. You've also got your American flag on the back because these things are proudly assembled and built in Livonia, Michigan. I believe it's Livonia. I know it's in Michigan. I forget the exact city, but they've got a really cool facility where they assemble these things. And I think they just do a good job. They're just good people at the end of the day. That's why we're actually on pace to be the #1 Roush supercharger dealer in the world, which I'm very, very proud of that. So take a look at this down here. You've also got some traction bars out back. So these traction bars are designed to make sure that you don't have wheel hop or anything like that. Basically, it makes sure that that axle stays exactly where it needs to go when it's cycling up and down, whether it's just on the interstate or whether it's on off-road situations. It's going to help your ride quality. Once again, one of the reasons this thing rides so well. And you've got your Roush dedicated shock absorber out back as well, and the same tires that you have in the front. So you can rotate these just like you would on any other lifted truck. Next up, let's talk about one of the biggest misconceptions on the new Roush RT6, and that is going to be the exhaust system, because this truck does come with a full-blown catback exhaust system from Roush Performance. Let's take a listen. Way too quiet in my opinion, but there's a very good reason for that. This truck's got to be 50 state legal, and even though it is 50 state legal, the way it ships, Roush does something very trick for you. The vehicle comes standard automatically with this exhaust system. Now you can upgrade it to the active exhaust where you can just press a button and it'll automatically open up the valves. But if you get the base version, which is what this one has, it comes with that really quiet exhaust system. But that is just because your dealer that you bought it from doesn't know what they're doing. Believe it or not, every one of these catback exhaust system actually has 2 different chambers of exhaust note, and it comes pre-installed from the factory with a baffle in one of those chambers. That's basically the loud chamber that they're baffling off. And so basically, if you buy one of these trucks from your dealer and it's as quiet as that is, you need to go in, have your dealer pull out that baffle, and then put it back together. And then when you crank it up, it sounds completely different.
You weren't lying.
That's very loud.
Yeah, that was so loud.
I was like, wait, what?
And while we're still around the back side of the vehicle, you've got your Roush badging here, as well as your RT6 badging here, and you've also got the Roush Performance badges for your tag bracket and your tag as well. And also, you have a little bit of an extra touch of detail with your hitch cover with the actual R badge on there. Once again, just trying to make this thing look like a complete lifted truck, an actual complete package instead of just somebody that just slapped a lift kit together. And now we're on the inside of the new Roush RT6. Now, for perspective, I'm 6'3", and so you can see that I'm clearly, you know, this truck is a lot bigger than a normal stock F-150. But one of the things that I think that Roush does a really, really good job with is their interiors. And it's even better now with the RT6, meaning that they've got a couple of different options for you. So first thing you're gonna notice, the optional leather seats. Now this is based off of an XLT chassis. So you've got cloth seats from the factory, but you can also spec it off that STX and also the Lariat. But either way you go, I think Roush nails their leather. They do a really, really good job with this. I mean, take a look at this honeycomb looking pattern mixed in with the Alcantara bolsters over here, and also the bolsters on the seat bottoms. You even have the Roush stitching in the back. So Roush does a great job with that. They even have an extra upgrade package which comes with carbon fiber all throughout. Real carbon fiber, none of that fake garbage that you'll find at Walmart. But once again, this is more of a budget version. I hate to say that, being that the MSRP is $96,000, but this is one that is a little bit less equipped than some of the other ones. But the good news is that you can order this thing however you want to. And if you wanted this truck, or if you wanted to order one, you can actually order them at invoice pricing by calling the phone number right there on the screen if that's something you're interested in doing. But Roush didn't just stop with the leather. They also took it to the center console. Notice you have the stitching that actually matches the stitching on the seats. And you also have the stitching for the Jack Roush USA signature right there in the center console, which once again, I think looks fantastic. You also have a Roush badge right here with a serial number. Notice this is a very, very early serial number, and I would argue that it's very, very lucky because it's 007. Actually, it's 0007, but I'm going to call it 007 because James Bond. But I think it's cool that you have 25.0007, and that stands for the RT6. So, and in addition to that, you still have your full functionality. If I would press the right button, that this folds down, and you still have your interior work surface if that's something you want to do. Once again, not a Roush factory option, but it is a Ford factory option. And you still have the full functionality with a lens cap for YouTube and a full-blown located center console with a hanging file folder system, power outlets down here, the whole nine. So I think it looks really, really cool. Once again, you have the ability to go even crazier on the inside, but yeah, that's what we're looking at as far as the base version of the Roush RT6 is. A few other cool features that Roush gives you on the RT6 is going to be the Roush branded floor mats. These are laser cut and they look fantastic, and they look great up against the billet aluminum pedal covers that they also give you from Roush. Now I think it's time to hop in the truck and take it for a spin to see exactly how this thing drives. And here we are driving the brand new Roush RT6 on the interstate, and I've had a couple of days now to drive this vehicle and feel it and experience it and get my thoughts together for this video. And there's quite a few different things we need to talk about. The first one is going to be the seating. Normally when you have leather seats added to a vehicle like this, it's just a cosmetic thing. But I actually believe like there's a decent increase in the bolstering of the seat, and it actually feels a lot better than an OEM factory F-150 seat. So props to you, Roush, on that particular regard. But the other thing is as I'm doing 70 miles an hour on the interstate, one of the things I love is that Roush Performance, they spend all of that extra time, effort, and energy to make sure that everything works like Blue Cruise. So that way you can have hands and feet free driving while driving on certain sections of divided road. So Roush does all of that certification. They make sure Blue Cruise is working. They make sure that the FMVSS 126 certification works. By the way, that's the rollover testing. So all of that stuff is working out perfectly, and Roush certifies that. And Roush is very particular about that kind of stuff. They want to make sure that they play by the rule books 100%, and they do a good job with that. But I will say that this suspension system is amazing. On the interstate, whether it's a spring rate thing or it's a damping with the coilovers, I'm not quite sure, but this is single-handedly the best riding suspension I've ever driven in an F-150, and I drive this stretch of road all the time. And also, I kind of want to point this out, this might actually be better than a factory riding F-150 suspension. You've never heard me say that on the channel because it's never been true before. And so I'm very, very pleased to see and show those benefits to you. But that does come at one significant cost, and that is going to be the turn-in radius. Now, does this disqualify you completely from buying this vehicle? Should it? No, it should not. But if I'm you, I would want to know that kind of information before I'm buying a vehicle. That's why we always say you need to test drive it before you buy it, is because you might be surprised on stuff like this. But thankfully, I do this for a living and I drive these trucks all the time, and it does limit your turning radius. So if that is something that you're going to be doing, which is, I don't know, getting in and out of tight spots all the time, or if you are backing up a trailer into tight spots all the time out of this truck, you might want to test drive it before you buy it to make sure that you're not going to run into any turning radius issues for your daily drivability. But does that disqualify you, or would it disqualify me from buying a truck like this? Absolutely not, because I feel like I spend a whole lot more time on the road, on the interstate, than I do backing up trying to get in and out of a parking space. And so to me, if you had to pick what you want to focus on, Roush nailed it, and that's going to be the daily drivability. But I want to know what you have to say. What do you think? Do you think it's worth giving up a little bit of steering angle for an opportunity to get a better ride quality on road? I want to know what you have to say down in the comments. And if you want to take a look at this particular truck, it is listed for sale at the time that I'm making this video, and that'll be linked down below, so check that out. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel with the bell notification turned on so you don't miss a single video. Peace.